All right, welcome to the pod. 2 cents, Josh and Spence. We are your hosts, Josh and
Spence.
So, dude.
Not much, man.
Season 4, episode 2.
2.
Let's
Today
go.
is Friday, April 4th.
That sounds...
Oh, man. All right. Friday, April 5th.
The reason we don't know what day it is because it's actually Tuesday.
Tuesday. But this will come out on Fridays.
We'll be going out Friday. 2 cents, Josh and Spence. Welcome. New format where we're gonna dice it up, have a bunch of sections. Gonna talk mindset, what's going on, we still haven't named it, what's hilarious on the internet.
Yep, something funny on the internet. But yeah, we appreciate you being here. Feel free to send it to a friend. Feel free to like, subscribe, do all the things. Helps us out a ton. So let's get into it.
Let's go. Welcome to the word segment of the podcast. So Spencer and I, along with Pastor Andrew, have been doing a men's Bible study here in the group, and we thought with our new format of our podcast, like let's include some of the words. So we have a weekly Bible study with Pastor Andrew. So after each Bible study, we're gonna bring a little bit of that to you today. So grateful to have Pastor Andrew in studio here.
It's great to be here.
Oh, listen to that voice, you guys. All right. So today, well, this will probably air next week, I would imagine, or later this week. Either way, yesterday was Easter. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Easter. We were just talking about earlier today about how it's just the best holiday.
The best
right?
holiday. That's right.
Without Easter, it's like the linchpin of our whole belief system. Really.
It is.
So it's an exciting time.
About a year ago, I started coming to this Bible study, and we were just kind of laughing about it because a year ago I looked at Andrew and I was like, "So what's the deal with this Jesus guy?" Very dumb question, but Andrew has taught me all about it over the last year. So tell us, this is going to be tough because we like to keep these segments a little short, but tell us about this Jesus guy.
That's right. Yeah, it was a year ago that Spencer asked the question after Easter. You had went to church and asked the question. That's kind of been the running joke in our Bible study ever since. And but it's the greatest story ever told. That's what I say really about Easter. It is the greatest story that's ever told. Mm-hmm. In fact, yesterday during the service, I talked about the belief in Jesus and how the Bible, especially the book of John. So if you go through the book of John in particular, you'll find the word belief all over the book, and that's really the purpose of the Gospel of John. It was written as a defense of the deity of Jesus Christ, and it really comes down to the question of, do we believe? Mm-hmm. Do we believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ? And I made this point yesterday, and really was just overwhelmed as I was speaking. I hadn't planned it; it just came out. But I said, if we believe this story of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, it is the nicest thing that anyone has ever done for me. Mm-hmm. Hands down. Like, somebody gave their life for me. Like, mm-hmm. I couldn't do anything about this sin problem, all of the issues of life. And the Bible says, while I was a sinner, yet a sinner, Christ died for me. And so I can love him because he first loved me. And so it is the greatest story ever told. But we have to have faith. So the story of Thomas, doubting Thomas is called. I hit on that a little bit yesterday, but Thomas wasn't there after Jesus had ascended. But John records this interaction between Jesus and Thomas when Jesus came to Thomas. And, before that, Thomas said, well, unless I see the scars in his hand and...
Yeah, because all the other disciples like, Thomas, you can't believe this. Like, right. He's back, before he even saw Jesus. And Thomas is like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
How could that be?
He says, I will not believe until I see the nail-scarred hands, the hole in the side. And the Bible says 8 days later, they were gathered together again, all the disciples. And that's when Jesus appeared and said, Thomas, here's my hands, here's my side. Like, he says, do not be unbelieving, but believe. Again, Jesus just telling them, you got to believe in the work of the cross and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And I mean, I tried to put myself in the position of the disciples. Like, I mean, their entire crisis of faith during Holy Week, like, going with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, the Last Supper, the whole deal, Jesus going to the cross, Peter denying him in his weakest, in Jesus's weakest moment, Peter denying him. But all of that summed up to say that Thomas looked at Jesus and said, I believe. Like, it's a very powerful moment. And then the book of John, the end of chapter number 20, says, many other signs truly did Jesus in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But then it says, I think it's in verse 31, but these are written that you might believe. Because Jesus looked at Thomas and said, Thomas, you believed because you've seen the nail-scarred hands and the hole in my side. But he said, blessed are those who have not seen, but yet believe. Mm-hmm. And so, again, if we believe in the resurrection of Jesus, it's the nicest thing that anyone can ever do for anyone else. Greater love hath no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends.
Mm-hmm. So when I asked the question a year ago, what I didn't understand and now have kind of learned as I've gone through the Bible with you, a lot of these questions are answered in the Old Testament. But why did Jesus have to die? Why did that have to happen for our sins to be forgiven?
Yeah, that has been the last journey of our Bible study, like going.
And we've been talking about it for a year now. So answer this in 5 minutes.
Well, the short answer is Genesis 3, sin entered into the world. And Paul records in the book of Romans that death came by sin. By the disobedience of one man, sin entered into the world. But by the obedience of one, many became righteous. So all of the Old Testament summed up is us seeing what sin and the depravity of sin does. Like, sin is the problem. It's what separates us from God first, but then also creates all the other chaos in this world. And so Jesus Christ was the plan of God from the very beginning. The Bible says from the foundation of the world, God's not bound by time like you and I are bound by time. But from the very foundation of the world, the Lamb was slain, is what the Scripture tells us, meaning it was the plan of God to have a Savior and a Redeemer and a one that would be able to reconcile humanity back to its Creator. Mm-hmm. So there's this big chasm between us and God, sin being that chasm. And so the Bible says there's one mediator, or like in between us and God. It's the man Christ Jesus. That's why Jesus came. It was the whole purpose of why he came. That's why he submitted himself, like we talked about in our Bible study this afternoon. He submitted himself to the cross, to the death of the cross, took upon him the form of a servant. And though he was God, he did not think it, the Bible says he didn't think himself equal with God and all of the divine privileges that come from that. He became obedient unto death when God himself, died for us. Mm-hmm. And so that's the bridge where we can now have a relationship with God. That's why Jesus Christ came. That's why we celebrate what we celebrated yesterday at Easter. So that's the Cliff Note version. Mm-hmm. But it is the greatest story ever told, but we got to believe it. Mm-hmm. We have to believe that. That's why Jesus Christ came. And I mean, people from a historical perspective, we know Jesus Christ was here. So you have a historical account, you have proof, so to speak, from that. But it really does come down to belief. Like it's what are we trusting in? What are we believing in? But, as for me and my house, Joshua said, we're going to serve the Lord. We're going to believe that Jesus Christ came for that purpose. And that's why, the response to Easter is coming up, like, so to speak, in timelines, where Pentecost is the feast of is a feast 50 days after Easter, when the church was birthed. The church was birthed at Pentecost, but they were infilled with the Spirit of God. There was this power of God that was given to them to live an overcoming life. And that's, Jesus said in John chapter 14, I'm not going to leave you without a helper, but the helper, which is the Holy Spirit, is going to lead you and guide you. It's going to be what the believers now, what we now have now, to help us live in the Spirit, so we don't fulfill the lust of the flesh. So that's why he came, is to lift us up out of the lust of the flesh, the sin issue, and to walk in the Spirit. So yeah, that's the Cliff Note version, Spencer.
That was perfect.
Easter.
Heck yeah.
Best holiday.
Okay, well, that wraps up this week's little Bible study. So we invite anyone to come. We always meet on what's now going to be Tuesdays at 1:30 at our office at Keller Williams. We'd love to have more people come and study the Bible with us and Andrew. But otherwise, we are hoping to talk a little bit about it every week with Andrew, as long as he has time. So thank you for coming. We sure appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
Love being on.
Well, Market Minute.
Stock market.
What's going on in the market, Spence?
Well, recently, if you've been looking for a house online, you've probably noticed that there's been some hiccups. So our local Fargo market has switched to a different MLS. The MLS is what us realtors use to basically find all the houses, and Zillow and Realtor.com and all the huge portal websites are taking their information from these websites.
So the Fargo Moorhead Area Association of Realtors has switched our multiple listing service providers. So we have switched from Flex MLS to now we are the North Star MLS.
Yes.
So you likely would have experienced some hiccups.
Yes, but it's in the end going to be very, very cool, because now we can see homes listed all over Minnesota. So, family members who are listening and have a question on a house, I can at least answer that question. And there's typically like statewide forums and stuff, so we can help a lot more people with real estate. Mm-hmm. So kind of cool.
Yeah, we've got a lot more data to work with now than we did. So all in all, be a very good thing. But like anything, a little bit of change, a little bit of discomfort. But here we are, dude. North Star. So
yeah, if you're looking at houses right now, be patient. Otherwise, message your realtor. They can probably help you out a bit more. But yeah, those other websites are a little bit delayed in getting all the updated info.
So like Lakes Country has always used North Star. So as us being agents, like I've always had access there. So, but I've had to have like two separate multiple listing services.
A lot of agents don't, though.
A lot of agents don't, but anyway, it's should be a little bit more seamless from like our region all the way into the Twin Cities. Kind of cool, like even so, like some of our agents, we're not all from Fargo. Like maybe an agent moves from Minneapolis to here, still has a lot of friends and family back there. Well, they can better provide some services to them now too, which is cool.
Lakes area will be big because a lot of people in this area. We're only 30 minutes, 45 minutes from the lakes, so be able to help out quite a few more people out there. So,
Word.
Cool. That's the Market Minute.
All right, welcome to the mindset section of the pod here. Today's quote comes from General George S. Patton. Now, if you are going to win any battle, you have to do one thing. You have to make the mind, or better said, spirit, run the body. The mind has to run the body. Never let the body tell the mind what to do. General George S. Patton.
I love that.
I often tweak that a little bit to say the mind is the general, the body is the troops, right? So it's like you set a goal, so that's the mind deciding this is what's going to happen. And then the body, the troops, have to fall in line, right? Yeah. So you set the alarm for 5 a.m. that you're going to get up and go exercise. Like you're the mind the night before. And then the next day, the body, the troops, like, fall in line, son. This is what we're doing. So.
Yes, sir. And if your body doesn't follow your mind, that will lead to no self-discipline, no self-confidence. So yeah, do what your mind, everyone knows what they need to do. Mm-hmm. So you got to actually do it. You got to take action. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what is that saying? You're good with saying a self-disciplined man is a confident man, and
yeah, just confidence. Somebody's confidence doesn't come from hoping they'll be confident or thinking they're confident. It comes from proving to themselves that they do what they say they're going to do.
Yep.
Right. So you do that. you do that one day, that first day the alarm goes off, and all of a sudden you get up, you're like, oh man, I did it. I did it. I didn't want to, and I did it. And then you do it a bunch of days in a row, and all of a sudden you look back and it's been a month of that. And then eventually you just turn into the person where like, yeah, that's what I do. That's who I am. I'm that person now. But it starts off with you deciding, like in your mind, deciding like, what do I want to have happen? Who do I want to be? So getting super clear on that, and then taking action, and then not, turning into a little chump when it's time to do it, do what needs doing.
And we've talked about ways to kind of like train your mind to do those things, and by kind of doing things that your body doesn't actually like. So like a vice check, you do those all the time. Like I'm going to quit something for a month just to let my mind know like, hey, or let my body know like I'm still in control. Or a cold shower, like no, like my mind over body. You sit there and you hate yourself for however long you take a shower.
But that's the same thing like that. Those ice baths are just huge, super popular right now. I made the mistake of like searching because I'm curious. Like I want to get one and just put it in the garage and have like, there's a thing that'll keep it a certain temperature so you don't have to fill it up with ice all the time. Well, now every third thing on my feed is now this ice bath. So I just have to just got to sit there until I buy one. Yeah. But those are super popular. Like there's another saying, eat the frog. So imagine if you have to eat a frog, think of the worst thing you have to do in a day. And if it was eating a frog, the first thing you do is eat the frog, then the rest of the day, everything's going to be easier. Right. Yep. So that's why what we do, like lead generation, like making calls, dealing with potential rejection, whatever, like we hammer that out, get that out of the way so that the rest of the day can happen. But you eat the frog. But yeah, the mind is the troops. The mind is the body. Fudge. The mind is the general. The body is the troops.
Heck yeah. Welcome to the book club.
Cue the harps. Cue the harps. Harps, please.
Thank you, Dustin. That sounds great.
Ooh, that hits nice.
Yep.
All right, welcome to the book club. Today we're going to talk about a book called The Gap and the Gain.
Great book.
It is a super popular book right now. Like it seems like it's one that a lot of business people and leaders and just whatever. Seems like it's one of the books that everybody's talking about or everybody's referencing right now. So
yeah, and we've talked about it before. Yeah. And this is probably our second time talking about it, but it's a great book. I mean, you've read it multiple times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's worth talking about twice. So buckle in, listener.
Click it or take it.
All right.
So the gap and the gain. So it's basically like it's a very simple concept in that a lot of times, I've listened to it a few times, and it's cool because each time I've listened to it, I take like a different aspect of listen to it from a different lens or from a different perspective. But when I first listened to it, thinking about this, so everybody, a lot of us want to be successful or have these goals that we set for ourselves. But then a lot of us who are goal-oriented and driven people, we then like to keep moving the goalpost, right? And when we do that, we're in a constant state of the gap, meaning I'm here and I want to be here. If you're listening at home and not watching, I had my hand lower when I said we're here, and then I raised it higher to say we want to be here, right? But it's like, I don't know, we're in real estate. So it's like, okay, oh man, I wish, it's that I'll be happy when syndrome. So like, oh man, if I wish I could just sell 10 houses. If I could sell 10 houses, then all of a sudden you'd sell 10 houses. Then you're like, oh man, I need to sell 15 houses or 20 houses. I'll be happy when I sell 15 houses. So that gap between 0 and 10 or 10 and 20, like that's the gap, right? But then if you fast forward and now you're at a point where like, okay, I'm selling 20 houses. I need to be selling 30. When you're looking forward, that is the gap. But if you stop and look backwards, that's the gain. Like, hey, I sold 20 houses last year. Remember when I thought selling 10 homes would solve all my problems? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we talked about it on the last episode. It's creating those mini wins in your walk. So yeah, if you can look back and be like, oh, I might not be where I want to be yet, like that's fine. We need to have goals, but we also need to understand how far we've come. So like look at what you've gained so far. Look at how much you've already done because you have that goal.
Yeah. It could be anything. I want to lose, I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, I've lost,
You're not a failure because you've only lost 30 so far.
Right.
Like you need to celebrate that you've lost 30 pounds. You might still want to get to 50, but it should be celebrated that you've already lost 30.
Yeah. So that's a very common way to look at it. But then I read it again, but then it has other aspects to it too. So they basically, gosh, man, I forget what they said, but it was something along the lines of like when your expectations aren't met, you're in the gap. Okay. So it's like, want to take our kids to the zoo. And I expect, just in my head, I'm like, okay, they're going to get in their car seats. They're going to sit nice. We're going to have just this lovely time. They're going to be super well behaved. And then as soon as they do something that doesn't align with that, now I'm mad because they're not doing what I think they're supposed to be doing. So now I'm in the gap, right? Like, well, they're being little stinkers and they're not supposed to be. They're supposed to be well behaved and this is supposed to be a great time. And then versus like the gain would be like, hey, we got to go to the zoo. Everybody got to have fun, right?
Yeah,
like
you focus on what went right instead of the one thing that went wrong, and that one thing is easy to take up. It's a lot easier to take up space in your head,
right?
Versus just thinking about what went right.
Yeah, and then too the just that mindset too, like using that example, like take the family goes to the zoo, and then the kids are being little stinkers for a little bit, and then dad freaks out and gets all mad because they're not doing what they're supposed to be, and now that just totally puts a black eye on the whole what could have been an awesome day because dad's frustrated or anxious because something's not happening the way that he wanted.
Yep.
Instead of just taking a deep breath and be like, hey, everything's fine. We're having a fun time. This is good.
And I think switching into this gain mindset versus being in the gap mindset you're gonna find that you'd be a more grateful person. You'd be filled with gratitude and can just look at the bright side of things in all areas of life versus what isn't going right.
Yep.
So
it's
a great book.
Yep. It's called The Gap and the Gain. I feel like it's Doc Hardy, maybe?
Darren Hardy?
No, not Darren Hardy. That's Compound Effect. Hold on. Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy.
Yeah. Great book. I will say could be half the length, but it's a great book. Check it out. Listen to it on 1.5 speed. All right. Well, next let's talk about something going on in Fargo, a business that we can highlight or something cool that we found locally here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Josh, what do you got?
Local shout out today. I'd like to shout out or highlight Fargo Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So it place has changed my life for sure. And it's one of those things where it's like I encourage anybody to do it. I've been going there for about 5 years thinking that like it would be something like, hey, I need to mix it up. I've had the same exercise routine for 15 years. Like I need to mix it up. I need to, I'm getting a little bit older. I need a bit more cardio and whatever. But it has had a very cool, positive impact on my life. Just from like, we talk about spreading joy and empowering other people a lot. Right. And jiu-jitsu is primarily like a martial art for self-defense. So when you talk about empowering people to feel comfortable in any situation because they know how to defend themselves. But just to the amount of like camaraderie, because usually like I go there over the noon hour and you see the same guys over and over and over again. So now you're able to get up close and personal, quite frankly, and like develop relationships with people that you wouldn't otherwise develop relationships with. And like, I've kind of turned the corner there because I went for a long time. I was just like an older guy kind of going a couple days a week or kind of popping in here or there. But now I can try to get up there almost every day. And like, I can't imagine now my life without it, And so I'd encourage anybody to check it out. Even like I was just up there last night and I was talking to Vivian at the front desk. It was like, hey, what does it look like for my kids to start coming here? because it's just, I don't know. It's something I wish it was something I would have done like as a kid or as a young person. And, you know, probably best that I didn't as like a young college dude. Probably better. Probably good I didn't have a blue belt and going to college parties or whatever. But
so what's the schedule like? When can people go? What is that? I know you go over the noon hour.
So I go over the noon hour, but they've got classes. Like I was up there again last night at 5. I think they have classes like 5, 6, 7. They have different classes for different levels. Like there's some guys that like compete like a sport. There's a lot of us just kind of novices that'll have like beginning and intermediate classes. They've got all women's self-defense classes up there. They're up there Saturdays as well. They have a guy Jory runs a class Saturday mornings at 10. So they're pretty accommodating to most schedules, and they have they've got a bully-proof kids program that runs in the afternoons and evenings as well. It is, and like it was one of those things. Like I was like, man, I want the kids. All the kids, like Jace, who's 18, I want him doing it. Like Bodie's 8, Ellery's 5. Like I want them all doing it. But like Bodeman got punched in the face at school the other day, you know, and I don't know, man. You've heard him. I don't know. I'm starting to think. The more I think about it, the more I think he might.
Oh no.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But stuff like that happens where but I got this like pit in my stomach where it's like, you know, and it was not a big deal. Like they're small kids and like the teacher was right there and whatever. But I'm like, what if the teacher wasn't right there? And what if the kid didn't just punch him one time? What if the kid got on you know? So then as a parent, you're like, again, spreading joy and empowering other people. Like, you know, like you don't, and that's the whole beauty of it too. Like it's not about fighting and being tough. It's about just being able to kind of take care of yourself.
So what does a typical class look like? Like you get there, they're usually about an hour long, right?
About an hour long. Usually kind of starts with like a warm up, some stretches, and then there's some warm ups you do, kind of you kind of roll around and whatever. You get warmed up, and then it's usually like majority of the time, probably like 50 minutes worth of drilling.
Okay.
Where it's like, okay, we're going to start in this scenario. So
they teach you what to do first, and then
100%.
Okay, go
100%. Yeah, like when I started, I knew absolutely nothing, and then it just started going to the noon hour, and he's like, yeah, just keep showing up, and then eventually stuff just kind of starts clicking. But it's like you just drill like a progression of movement. So it's like, so we drill for a while on how to, if me and you were going, it'd be me trying to escape, or you trying to submit me for like 25 minutes, and then 25 minutes of me how to escape from there. And then usually at the end, like 5-10 minutes, we call it like training. We do a thing where it's like up, down, out. So you start, one guy starts down, one guy starts up, and then there's guys waiting to go in, and then like we go and you pass my guard, and then we're done. And then I'm you, and then the next guy comes in, and then whatever. So, they've got a bunch of different classes, but they've got something for everybody. But if you're out there and you're like, I'm thinking about doing something different, I'm thinking about getting into a martial art or doing something like karate or something, I would highly recommend training jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And I train at Fargo Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, close to downtown. It's been awesome. So I'd highly encourage anybody else to do it.
And I think you don't have to do competitive, right? Like
no,
you just do it like as a self-defense thing. Like I always think about that guy on Facebook who just like totally unrealistic. Like people do need self-defense, and like you can't just look at YouTube videos. Like go actually learn it. And
that's
Josh just about tore my ACL the other day because I mouthed off to him.
Yeah, Mr. Wrestler over here starts getting cocky. I just about handed him his kneecap. No big deal. But it is like, it's truly empowering, because you could think like, well, what would I do? But then when you're there every day and you're used to having somebody have their hands on you, and you're used to have, you know, like there's just a certain amount of, and people will say that now, they'll kind of like, if it comes up, they'll go, oh, you think you're tough? You think you could beat me up? It's like, no, I probably not, you know, but I know that you'd have a much harder time beating me up than you would have 5 years ago.
Right.
And again, it's not about being a tough guy or whatever, but it's just about being able to take care of yourself and handle yourself. But then too, even from just an exercise standpoint. So they'll have a few days a week where they'll do like an open mat. So Fridays I go there for open mat, and that's like a straight up, like, put 6-minute rounds on the thing. Me and you slap hands, and then we just go at it for 6 minutes. Like if you submit me, I tap, then we start over, and then the buzzer goes off. We stop, get a 60-second rest, and then we go with the next guy. And you do that for an hour, and like that's the sweatiest I've ever been is doing that stuff. So from a just a cardio exercise standpoint, it's incredible. From just I don't know what to say. Like you get that, you get like a runner's high, or you get, if you like to lift weights, you get like a pump or whatever, but you get that same kind of euphoric, like just feeling really good coming out of there. So I'd highly recommend anybody do it. It's awesome.
Yeah. You always think like, what would I do if my life was in danger, my family's life was in danger, and everyone likes to think like, oh, I'd just become Superman and just handle it. Well, but that's not necessarily
and you hear
true.
That like, oh, when I get mad, I see red, and then it's like it truly doesn't matter. Like I've gone against guys that I'm bigger than. I'm not a very big guy, but I've gone against guys that I'm bigger than, and like if you know what you're doing, it's not fair. And like Hickson Gracie, who's one of the best jiu-jitsu grapplers of all time, he'd say like, the mat is the ocean, I'm a shark, and most people don't know how to swim. You know what I mean? Like it's truly not fair. But even just like somebody puts their hands on you, just being able to break the grip and like get a distance and then be able to run away or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's been awesome. And again, like I've hit this kind of transition to where I'd be content kind of going up there once or twice, maybe 3 times a week. And now I'm like, if I don't get up there 5 days a week, like I get kind of ornery because it's just, I don't know. It's got an addicting quality to it too. And like we're, both driven. If you're a driven person, you want the next thing or whatever, and they kind of have a system. So it's like, oh, I got a white belt. Now I got a little stripe on there. Now I want to get,
celebrate the mini wins for sure.
But
that's cool, man.
Awesome.
Where's it at?
So it's Fargo Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's on 2nd Avenue North, kind of just off University. I don't know the exact address, but that's how I found it.
I think they offer, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you can go and try it out, make sure you like it, and then if you want to join, but you can kind of do a trial run first.
Yep. First class is free. You could just show up and, sign something and get your free class, and you don't need to have any gear or whatever. They'll have stuff that you can wear.
Sweet.
And then you decide you want to do it. But yeah, if you're out there looking for something, I would highly recommend.
Cool. All right. Welcome to
Something Funny Spencer Found on the Internet. Nah.
Something funny that Spencer found on the internet. So, this week I was struggling with what to find, what to talk about. So I took a bunt. I went ahead and I Googled Florida man.
Oh no!
So we've got some good Florida man headlines to run through here. Okay.
Florida never disappoints, dude.
Yeah, dude. All right. Florida man threw live gator in Wendy's drive-through window. Can you imagine?
Well, what size of a gator are we talking about
I
here?
imagine a smaller one, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you're just trying to do your job, and this guy throws a gator at you?
Oh, man.
All right. Florida cop claims Burger King put dirt on his food. That's tough. Can't have it.
I mean, we back the blue.
We back the blue.
We
here.
can't have that.
All right, here's a good one. Inmate insists the syringes pulled from his rectum are not his. Bro, I don't know how those got there.
Rectum damn near killed him.
All right. Florida man tries to evade arrest by cartwheeling away from cops.
Hey, that
Try take down a guy who's doing a cartwheel.
not easy.
Good luck.
Not easy. That's a good guard pass right there. Cartwheel over it.
Oh. Florida man calls 911, says he needs a ride to Hooters. Absolutely an emergency.
That's an emergency, dude. Yeah.
Florida couple trapped in unlocked closet for 2 days. Oh. Can you imagine? I mean, just pulling up on this 911 call, like, can you guys just leave the closet? You okay?
What do you say, dude?
Yeah, just come out. Just come out.
What even like do you gotta pretend like it was, you know what I mean? Like you gotta pretend like, yeah, it was kind of hard to open that door. Like, yeah, I could see how.
You guys loosened it for me.
Like that's tough.
Yeah.
That's
Florida man attempting to time travel crashes into strip mall.
What's he trying? Is he in a DeLorean or what?
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, it says a Florida man was arrested after driving his car into a mall in an attempt to time travel in the way that it's done in the movie, driving 88 miles per hour.
88 miles an hour.
Obviously, his plan failed, and time travel isn't exactly possible even at 88 miles an hour.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not possible. We just haven't.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to just shut the door on
Florida
time
man
travel.
is going to be Fargo man soon. Josh is going to have to try this. All right, this one I loved. Okay. All right. This guy. So it says apparently some a-hole had a litter of puppies and claiming he couldn't find anyone to take them off his hands, decided to shoot them instead, of taking them to a shelter. However, he was also practicing such lax gun safety while committing puppy murder that one of the little guys managed to put the paw on the trigger and shoot him in the wrist. Karma. Guy got shot by a puppy.
That sounds like a movie that needs to get made.
Florida man arrested for trying to get alligator drunk. Is this the same guy who threw it in the Wendy's?
Okay, just how about a little freedom, Florida? Like, what's your problem?
Oh,
hey,
man.
Ron DeSantis, calm down. You know what I mean?
All right, this is the last one. This is an absolute roller coaster of a headline. Florida man driving car full of stolen mail crashes into a trailer full of alpacas.
Where do you start there? Where do you start?
How do we start getting into this one?
I mean, that's a federal offense there. You start messing with the mail, and then, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, poor alpacas, but yeah.
I'm trying to think of an alpaca pun here.
Don't. It's okay. Well, that does it for this week's Florida Man segment and something funny Spencer found on the internet. Okay.
Let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings,
Might
you
as well.
guys. Let's go. Dusty, where are we at on this week's Let's Talk About the Vikes?
So last week, we talked about different draft scenarios of trading up, bundling our picks, and moving up to take one of the few quarterbacks that are available. I was looking at a few mock drafts over the last week, and there have been some really interesting scenarios not involved with taking a quarterback, but instead trading our picks for an already established quarterback. And I'm going to make you decide between these two. Scenario number one, Jim Harbaugh loves J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
So we take the number 11, the number 23, and next year's first, and we trade that to the San Diego Chargers, now in L.A., and we get Justin Herbert. Okay.
Great head of hair.
Do you want to say the second one, or can I ask a question?
Go ahead, ask a question.
Can we afford that? Because we couldn't afford to pay Kirk Cousins, or is that just because we didn't want to?
Sounds like we can't afford.
We got to keep Justin Jefferson.
So in this scenario, based on their cap situation, they would take on actually a pretty huge cap hit.
Okay.
For that. So going forward in 2025, when we have a ton of cap space, because we're going to have like the third most cap space next year, we'll easily be able to cover it. But they would take on a huge cap hit in 2024. But they would also get a rookie scale contract. So
how are they going to get J.J. McCarthy, though? Don't they have like the 6th?
Well, they would have
pick?
the 6th, the 11, and the 23, and the next year's first.
So they could trade those.
Easily move those up because there's no way the Cardinals wouldn't take that to move down a spot. They have the 5, by the way.
Right.
The other scenario, and this is the one that I dislike the most, is this was actually mocked by, I think it was Dan Graziano. Is that the ESPN, I think, the morning guy? The 11 and the 23, so we get to keep next year's first. We trade that with the Cardinals for Kyler Murray
No. I hate it. No.
No.
Absolutely not.
They can keep Kyler Murray and his Xbox. Okay.
Listen, we talked about this the other day, Dustin, and I'll say my trade offer again. Okay. Here's the only deal that we'll make with that. They give us Kyler Murray and their fifth, they're the fifth, right? They're fourth overall pick, and we accept that. And that's the whole deal. That's the whole deal. That's the only way we're doing it.
We've got zero interest in Kyler Murray. Okay.
Me too. I'd rather take a rookie quarterback that we can kind of make our own. But I do Justin Herbert. That's he's a great quarterback, and
he's got that Minnesota hockey hair. You know what I mean? He's got great flow.
Yes,
I don't know.
He does.
Like, I love the idea of Kyler Murray, like, as a quarterback. Like, he is super fast and super elusive, and he's a great quarterback. Like, the best Texas high school quarterback of all time, or like in that discussion. But he just, I don't know. He's got enough of a body of work that just says, like, whatever it is, he doesn't have it.
I feel like it's the whole, he doesn't work on. He's not in the playbook. I mean, he's playing video games and.
Well, wasn't there? Didn't somebody show one time last year, the year before, like when a new COD came out or whatever?
Yeah,
or like
they've literally put in his contract that what was it again, Dustin? He has to watch so many hours of film in order for this. Like, it was contingent on that.
And then that came out public that he had this clause in his contract, and it was a huge issue, obviously. So they pulled that clause from his contract. But top end, Kyler Murray could easily be like a top 5 quarterback. That's the thing. Is like his high end, his ceiling is like right up there with the best in the league right now. But his floor and his like inability to stay healthy is a huge problem.
Well, and that's the other part. Like, the best ability is availability or whatever.
Yep.
You know, like, he's not a big person, and that's tough when you get like, no matter how elusive you are, like, you're gonna get hit. And if you're maybe 5'10" and how much would he weigh? 185 pounds, 190 pounds, like having insert name of big football player, like having Daniil Hunter land on you twice a game, like that's.
I don't know.
Tough to stay healthy, but even that, like, that can be overcome if he's just like a leader of men and like, you know what I mean? Like, just but he doesn't appear to have it. And if you're like nobody is that good at football to not be able to have the drive and the leadership abilities.
Yeah, I really like the idea of a big quarterback. I want my quarterback to be a giant. I mean, Drake May is huge. Justin Herbert's huge. I'd take that. But yeah, if the Cardinals want to do a deal, you know my number. You give us the 4th overall pick and Kyler Murray, and we will take that.
Are they talking about it? Is JJ McCarthy doing the Zach Wilson where he's like ascending in the draft somehow to be? Are they talking about
there's
people taking him at 2 and Drake May falling maybe a little bit?
They all are. It's all smoke.
Yeah, that's the thing. This has been such an interesting year for this because, like, right after the national championship, JJ McCarthy won the national championship, and he was a mid-second round pick, high second round pick.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, he could probably be taken in the latter half of the first round. He's probably like 14th or 15th best. He's probably going to be in the top 10, 5, number 2 overall. So, like, I have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Drake May was the consensus number 2 overall pick before the season started, played really well, and now all of a sudden he's, I don't know, the 4th best quarterback. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's all lies and it's all games, and it's just wild. I'm sure one of them will. I bet JJ McCarthy will maybe fall, and it'll be like that, Mac Jones type thing where they keep going to him on draft day, looking at how sad he is, and it'll be a bummer. But maybe he falls to 11.
Left in the green room with his family and his smoking hot girlfriend, just feeling bad for him. It's like, oh.
Well, yeah. So that's our. Let's talk about the Vikes, Cardinals. You know where to find us. go ahead and call my number. I will be happy to do a deal on behalf of the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, or give me a call.
Just have Kyler reach out to Spencer on Xbox. And
Yeah, send me an Xbox message. Go ahead. We'll maybe link up, squad up in the battlefield, and we'll talk about it. So, all right. Well, that wraps up this episode of 2 Cents with Josh and Spence.
Thanks for watching. Shaker Bug. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like that, I know you're going to like this one right here. Like, subscribe, do all the things. Watch for Deer and Shaker Bug.